Attachment theory is one of the central concepts in developmental psychology. It was first introduced by John Bowlby, a British psychiatrist, in the 1950s. Bowlby was deeply interested in the way children form emotional bonds with their caregivers and how those bonds influence their development across the entire lifespan. At its core, attachment theory describes how early relationships, especially between a child and the parents or primary caregivers, shape not only emotional development but also social behavior, personality, and even cognitive growth. Bowlby believed that these bonds were not just emotional preferences, but part of a biological survival system. The need for attachment is a primary human need, just as essential as the need for food, water, or sleep. For a newborn, survival depends completely on the presence and responsiveness of a caregiver. This is why infants develop behaviors designed to maintain closeness to their attachment figures. Think of a baby crying when left alone, smiling when the parent entered the room, or reaching out to be picked up. These are not random actions. They are powerful evolutionary strategies designed to keep the caregiver nearby, ensuring safety and survival. For example, a baby who cries loudly when hungry will quickly get fed, reinforcing the bond with their caregiver. A toddler who seeks comfort after falling down is reassured not only physically but emotionally, learning that the world is a safe place when their caregiver responds with warmth. These early interactions set the stage for how the child will later view relationships and trust in others. Bowlby's ideas were groundbreaking, but it was Mary Ainsworth, one of his close collaborators, who provided the experimental evidence that brought attachment theory to life. In the 1970s, she developed a famous study called the Strange Situation. In this structured experiment, a 1-year-old child was observed in a series of episodes. 1. Playing with a mother in an unfamiliar room. 2. The mother leaving the room. 3. A stranger entering and interacting with the child. 4. The mother returning. The child's reaction to separation and reunion revealed the nature of their attachment style. From this study, Ainsworth identified 3 main types of attachment: secure attachment, insecure-avoidant attachment, insecure, anxious, or ambivalent attachment. Later, Mary Main and Judith Solomon added a 4th category: disorganized attachment. Let's take a closer look at each of these attachment styles with some real-life examples. Secure attachment. Children with secure attachment feel confident that their caregiver is reliable and available. They use their parents as a secure base from which to explore the world. For instance, imagine a child in a playground. They happily run off to play with other children, but every now and then they glance back to make sure their parent is still watching. If they fall or get scared, they run back for comfort, and once reassured, they return to playing. As adults, securely attached individuals usually find it easier to trust their partners, communicate openly, and balance closeness with independence. Avoidant attachment. In avoidant attachment, the child learns, consciously or unconsciously, that expressing need or vulnerability may not bring comfort. The caregiver might be emotionally distant, dismissive, or inconsistent in their responses. In the strange situation, these children appeared not to care when the parent left and avoided them upon return. But interestingly, their physiological stress levels still spiked. In other words, they did feel distressed, but had learned to suppress it. As adults, avoidant individuals may struggle with intimacy. They often value independence so strongly that they push others away even when longing for connection. For example, in romantic relationships, they may withdraw during conflicts or avoid talking about feelings, fearing dependence or rejection. Anxious, ambivalent attachment. Children with anxious attachment display clingy, overly dependent behaviors. Their caregivers were sometimes attentive, but often inconsistent, responding warmly at times, but ignoring or rejecting them at others. In the strange situation, these children were intensely distressed when the parent left, but not easily soothed upon reunion. They might cry, cling, and simultaneously push the parent away in frustration. As adults, anxious individuals often fear abandonment. They may become preoccupied with their partner's availability, overanalyze text, or seek constant reassurance. Their relationships can feel like an emotional roller coaster, marked by intense closeness, but also frequent insecurity. Disorganized attachment. This style was added later by Mary Main. It often develops in children who experience trauma, abuse, or frightening behavior from their caregivers. Here, the child faces a paradox. The parent is both a source of comfort and of fear. In the strange situation, disorganized children showed contradictory behaviors, approaching the parent but also freezing, hiding, or showing fear. In adulthood, disorganized attachment often manifests as a push-pull dynamic in relationships, craving intimacy but fearing it at the same time. These individuals may have difficulty regulating emotions and sometimes struggle with unresolved trauma. What makes attachment theory particularly fascinating is that these patterns are not set in stone. While childhood experiences create the foundation, attachment can evolve over time. This concept is sometimes called attachment plasticity. Through therapy, self-awareness, or simply through nurturing consistent relationships, people can shift towards more secure attachment. For example, an avoidant person who learns in adulthood that their partner consistently respects their independence while also being emotionally available may gradually become more comfortable with intimacy. An anxious person who experiences a partner's steady reassurance may slowly learn to trust without needing constant confirmation. Attachment theory is not just about childhood. It continues to shape us throughout adulthood, especially in our romantic and intimate relationships. In friendships, it influences how easily we open up or rely on others. In love, it shapes how we handle conflict, closeness, and trust. In parenting, it influences how we respond to our own children, sometimes repeating patterns unconsciously or sometimes striving to do the opposite of what we experienced. For instance, a securely attached adult might handle an argument by calmly expressing needs and listening to the partner. An avoidantly attached adult might shut down and withdraw instead of engaging. An anxiously attached adult might react with panic or clinginess, fearing the relationship is at risk. Understanding these patterns can be incredibly powerful. It allows us to reflect on our behaviors not as personal flaws, but as strategies we develop early in life to protect ourselves. To summarize, attachment theory highlights how our earliest relationships shape the way we love, connect, and interact with the world. It reminds us that something as simple and as profound as a caregiver's presence, attentiveness, and responsiveness can leave lifelong imprints on our emotional lives. And perhaps the most hopeful message of all, attachment is not destiny. We are not prisoners of our past. Through awareness, reflection, therapy, and healthy relationships, we can move towards greater security, resilience, and connection.